All right, what's up, guys? Going to be going through the deck portion. This is a continuation of the video that I explain where I explain how to play Russia. I go through all of the units. I go through what you should and should not use and how to use them, as well as ID the biggest threats on the US side. This is the actual deck portion. Now, of course, you can go and create whatever deck you want, and I actually advise that you do that based off of the information that I gave you in the other video. But in case you're still struggling, I did want to add a couple of decks that you guys can check out. So based off of those units that I explained, we have 3 decks here: air, infantry, and tanks. As I also explained in that previous video, or in hopefully something that you would have watched before, but actually, now that I think about it, you can watch either of these in any order that you want. Maybe you can just watch this and then use the deck and then see what you find in it, and then if you're still struggling, go watch the other video, because the other video is 4 hours long, so it's a bit problematic, obviously, if you don't have very much time. But this is a pretty difficult game. It's a pretty in-depth game. However, if you do go watch that video and you do actually listen to it and you take it to heart, hell, take some notes even in particular, but you can rewatch it too, whatever you wanting to do. You literally will understand how to play Russia by watching that video. That is why I put as much time as I did into that video. You will understand Russia at the end of that video. So, anyway, but as I explained in that video, what I want you guys to do, because chances are, if you are watching this video, if you're looking for this video, you are a newer player, so you do not want to be in the air. The easiest way to do bad in the game is to be an inefficient player, to throw your units away without trading in return. And the trading doesn't need to necessarily be points. It could be just they have a very particular unit. Like, the best case scenario, let's say, and this isn't realistic, but let's just say somebody calls out a B2 on the other team. You're fighting a USSF player. They call out a B2. It has a nuke. They notice that you have a plane up, so they don't call the nuke out because they think, or they call the B2 back because they think it's going to get shot down before it goes to the target. In no way, shape, or form is that represented anywhere, but you just saved probably hundreds, if not thousands of points worth of units by having that plane in that position. See what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that can happen in this game that are not represented in the stats, but you doing the right thing at the right time can mean the world, can mean the win or the loss, realistically, in this game. So, keeping that in mind, I do not want you guys using too many planes or artillery. I explain it more in detail with that other video. But getting started, we're going to go with this air actual deck here. We've got the Tu-22. This is the most efficient counter unit in the game. So for 400 points, you can quickly and efficiently get 3 cruise missiles that fly very fast to that target. Again, artillery, SAMs, things like that aren't going to be moving very quickly anytime soon. This is the best way to counter them. However, they are cruise missiles, so they can get intercepted. Keep that in mind. But if you do have 400 points available, there's a particular artillery unit, or maybe there's a couple of SAMs that you just want to annoy, or perhaps you just need to see where they are so that one of your buddies or somebody that you're playing with. Actually, all 3 of these decks are marine, so you can use these two Tu-22s to spot enemy SAMs and then use artillery to actually take those SAMs out. That is something that you can do. Now, because this is an airborne deck, you do have some pretty good planes. Some of the best, actually. So I did put the MiG-35 in here as air superiority. I did put the Su-57 in here as air superiority. If you guys are somebody who is playing in a team stack, perhaps, or you're very comfortable seeding, go ahead and turn these into seed planes if you want. You're going to need to mess with the deck a little bit. The points aren't going to exactly line up. However, the reason why these are air superiority is because I think it's going to be better for you guys to get some practice in fighting other planes. I understand that's not a concept that was explained within this video. I am going to be doing my air masterclass video pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. But generally speaking, the way that you should use these planes is, if you're playing USSF, you're noticing that your teammates aren't using many planes, try and send these out to try and eliminate those US stealth drones in particular. If they're air spamming, try and counter them, try and have these planes up to try and shoot down some of their planes if you want. Generally speaking, if you're not too successful with that, try and play a better ground game. And what I mean by that is try and use a different ground deck in particular. and maybe leave the air for somebody else. But the air game in general is quite cat and mouse. It's quite difficult to actually master and understand what exactly is going on there. So another subject for another time. This deck in particular has many strengths in the infantry and the reconnaissance, not necessarily just the planes. But again, if you're somebody that is comfortable using the planes in an air superiority role, I would suggest that you do dabble with it a little bit while you do mess around with some of the infantry that we're going to get to here in a little bit. This helicopter rush, again, this is something that I've talked about a lot, but if you do it incorrectly, it can fail badly. This is 1,600 points worth of helicopters that can, if done correctly, absolutely decimate entire front lines. And I have many clips of that. Also, shameless plug, come by a stream, go follow me on Twitch if you guys want to see stuff like that on the regular. But it can be done very badly. It can get spotted. They know it's coming. It can get countered quite easily because this in particular are using the strengths of these helicopters in the best possible way, which is just filling them with rockets and telling them to go forward. So using all of that armor, using that ECM, and using that speed to just break through a front line, get to the back line, get to that artillery, get to those Patriots, and then when they send planes and helicopters after you, you kind of fuck them up. So ideally, best case scenario is you break through a front line with something like this, and then they send a bunch of planes after you, and then you eliminate the planes with your own planes. That is kind of like the play here with these two tabs in particular with this deck. Have a bit of fun with that if you want. You got your Shorad here with the Strelitz. You got your best Shorad here with the Tor. Now, best for the deck in particular. Now, you can't put the Pantsir in here, but it's an extra 50 points. And generally speaking, because of the multi-target, I'm actually going to keep it the Tor here for this one. The Kamaz, you can carry 14 troops in here as well as 2,000 supply, and it can go 100 kilometers an hour on the road. Pretty nice for this. And you have the 350 Vityaz, which is very solid anti-cruise missile, anti-plane, but you do need to watch out with your radar. Be careful with that stuff. If you're going to set it up, try and set it up at least 6,000 meters away from the enemy's front line, because you're probably going to be playing the United States. They might have those Gimlers. They're going to be able to hit you from 6,000 meters, so try and be careful with that. And that in particular, when you have your radar on, that's going to be almost the distance that you're going to be able to engage that. Well, you're going to be able to reach past that, but that's why you have the 350 in particular. It's just, you got to watch out for the counter already to your SAMs in particular, and make sure you have a couple of Strelitz there. The 350 in general is very good because it can do the multi-target and then multiple missiles, at protecting itself, especially when you're able to reload it, when you keep it reloaded, rather, and you have some supply nearby. But the Tor and the Strelitz can also help with that too if you keep their radars on. So this can be very effective Shorad as well as protection for the Vityaz if you need it. The T-80 BVM might be my favorite tank in the game. It's fast, it has enough armor, and it has enough bang as well as punch to do whatever you want for 270 points. I genuinely think this might be my favorite tank. I have a lot of fun with this tank. You got 4 of them. What is a very nice tag team with this, especially when you're going up against armor in particular, is to have some ATGM carriers along with it. The Kornet in particular is the ATGM carrier that Russia gets that does have smoke. Now, these missiles can be better. The system can be better because technically, even though the range isn't as good, this will shoot these significantly faster. However, because of the distances involved, generally speaking, I think you're going to be in a much worse area, like a worse position to potentially get countered or get killed at these ranges. So ideally, you want to set this up. Also, you had a little bit better optics with this one. In general, you set this up as a tag team. You set this up with your BMPs. You set this up with your BVMs, and you, from a distance, shoot these ATGMs and try to have as much effect as possible with them from both an infantry and an anti-tank perspective, but have them far away and have them as a hunter-killer squad so that you can actually specifically keep in mind keeping them alive. So pay attention to them. I don't want to go into too much detail with specifics on this because that was the whole point of the other video, so I got to keep it moving here. We've got the Beretti here with the BT-3. We've got the Gornstrelki with the BMP-3F Sudema. This is not a BMP-3M. Keep that in mind. Remember that. But similar. More BT-3F and the BTR MDM with the 15 carrying capacity. And then we have the Metis. So as I explained in the other video, anti-infantry, do not put anything else when you are rushing with other infantry. Do not put any of these infantry in the building that the enemy infantry are in, because these guys are going to be doing a good job at eliminating them, along with all of the cannons and things that you're going to have as fire support going on. So be careful with that. Close range anti-tank, urban anti-infantry, just everything. Marines are fantastic. VDV anti-tank because of the 2 RPG-7s with the 500 millimeters. And then the Cord and Metis as just a solid holding infantry. We have the Marine Recon with their, again, RPG-27. Very nice anti-infantry rifles. And then we also have the VDV Recon, Resvedka, with their even better RPG, but there's only one. The VSS marksman rifle, so good for urban. And then also, even better, 2.5. The same. It's the same, actually. But it has a couple more. A couple more of those AK-103s for anti-infantry. In your face anti-infantry with the Burr. Use these the exact same way as the Beretti. They're just weaker in general. Like they're gonna be able to take less of a punch before they end up going down, but they do get the 2 Burr launchers, which is actually better than these. These are gonna shoot much slower than these. So if you need a quick, you're gonna offload into the enemy's front line, this is what you want to bring with these just behind them. Hopefully they get their shots off as quickly as possible, or rather they get all 6 of their shots off as quickly as possible, and then they die as quickly as possible so that you can get them to respawn quicker. And then these just kind of sustain, basically. Having these around urban environments, particularly good anti-infantry, as well as the 2,000 meter optic range and the ability to laze. And then you also have the 50 cal team in there, which is very effective. I believe they increased the price recently with these, so 150 points. That ain't nothing. Correct me if I'm wrong, that might be the most expensive infantry unit in the game. I can't think of any others, actually, at the moment, but these things are devastating. Utterly, utterly devastating to infantry and light vehicles. So I think they're worth that price. You don't want to go loading them because at the end of the day, it's still a 6-man squad. So you got to be careful with that. And they don't even have the 2,000 meter optic range, but they do get 2 of these massive 50 cals that shoot out to 12 and 2 of the marksman rifles. So taking away 50%, taking away 100%. Very, very good when used correctly. So that is your airborne deck. Next, you have the infantry. This is kind of what I consider bread and butter for me right now. It is very effective at fast pushing. When you guys eventually hear about my tag system, when you eventually start to hear about the gameplay that I'm able to produce with units like these when put into certain situations, as I started to allude to and as I actually explained a bit of in that previous video, this might be one of the strongest decks in the game. I keep saying might. I keep going back and forth. It basically goes game to game, but what really comes into play is the opponent, really. And you guys, with who you're going to be facing, you will roll people with this if you do not get bombed. Again, I'm going in circles here. This is stuff that I explained in the other video, so make sure you go watch it in particular when I'm explaining how to use these units in particular and my tactics in particular. But this is going to be targeted by planes. So you need to be very careful about those planes coming in. And you also need to watch out because you can't really do too much about it. You got the 27s so that maybe you can spot, but if they have SAMs up, it might get shot down, and then you wasted 365 points. So I'm inclined to tell you to just kind of send it. See how you do. Pay attention to your losses. Pay attention to what you did wrong. Primarily, what's going to happen is you will get bombed, and you're keeping too many units too close together. So spread them bitches out. Get some distance between you. Keep your spacing. Otherwise, keep them rolling. You got the Sapuri. You got the BMP 1AM, which is the BTR turret, essentially. You got the PDSS 2,000 meter optic range. These are supposed to be the grenade launchers, so make sure you have those grenade launchers. You got the BTR 90, which is 100 road speed. You got the Cornets. You got the grenade launcher. You got the 30 millimeter cannon and amphibious with the extra armor. And you have the Marine Recon. Pretty handy. Ready? As I explained before, anti-infantry from a distance. Anti-infantry from a distance. With the incendiaries, light them buildings on fire. Marines. BT3F. Also BMO1 with the 2 smoke. Pay attention to that. Anti-vehicle, anti-tank. With the grenade launcher. BMP1. With that, ATGM. BMP3M, my child. Put these everywhere. Sturmoviki, anti-infantry, as well as... I don't even know what's the right word here. I don't think it's soak. It's not soak, but you know what I mean. Degrade their APS. Eliminate their APS because of the amount of shots that you're going to be putting into them. And then we got a couple of igloos here. This is extra anti-helicopter SHORAD, but also solid transport. You get a smoke. Fantastic fire support against infantry and light targets with this right here. So keep that in mind. Again, BVM, potentially my favorite tank in the game. Tag teaming with Sturms. Something you can also tag team these two with. And again, something I explained in the other video already with these cheap T-72Bs. So for 210 points, this is very lethal against tanks. Very. When you do one of these with one of these. This is going to shoot their ATGM from 1500. You are going to be shooting from 18. So keep that in mind. The vehicles are probably going to have APS, so this is going to get soaked, so you got to watch out for that. Now, when you bring another one, so for 270, which when you take a look at it, is just one of these, extremely lethal. So 2 of these, 1 of these. Keep this in front. Smoke to cover these when you do start to get hit. But 2 of these means that 2 of these attackers are going to go at the target. The second one will go through because the first one is what gets intercepted by the APS. That is a lot of damage to put on anything, no matter what. A lot. So keep that in mind. If you have one of these around nearby, maybe even 2 of them, wait for the bomber or artillery to hit these to try and bait out what your enemy is going to do to armor, and then you can go in with this. Very good tactic for the cheap. So there's that. This is here because I had extra points in the deck and I didn't know what to do. So if you guys have a thought where it would be nice to kill some infantry, but at the same time you have a bunch of points, you're not really sure how to take something, go put this somewhere in a different direction, but still near where you're going to be fighting. And then make it obvious that this is aiming. Put it somewhere obvious where the enemy are going to see it. And then that way they're going to be paying attention to it. They'll try and bring a bomber in on it, or maybe they'll hit it with artillery or something while you're doing some of this stuff, or while you're going in with your troops over here. Basically, it's a 110-point distraction that's going to be pretty good. And if it gets the shots off, then it's going to be devastating to the infantry that are there anyway. So win-win, I guess, basically. But you got to use it correctly. But generally speaking, most of the time, don't even buy it. It's just, I had some points here. Can you use it? Yeah. But literally, I didn't know what else to put in there. I couldn't fit anything else. SHORAD, effective. Strelitz, effective. Malka, that is your seed, and eliminate their supply. Your priorities. Kill SAMs, kill SHORAD, kill supply. Amphibious, anti-helicopter for the cheap, quite good. Vityaz, this is the cheaper Vityaz. All this is counter cruise missile. If that person is happening to use cruise missiles, put this out there. You can keep the radar off. You can try to micro it if you want, but generally speaking, again, I had some extra points. It can be useful. You can find a way to use it in a useful situation, in a useful way. It's there. Generally speaking, though, you'll be fine. You'll be fine with these. But if you do get a couple of these and you do have like a big front line, or maybe perhaps you're helping a teammate or something like that, these are going to be fine. And if you're trying to figure out like what points to spend and they're air spamming a bunch, like this will find a use. You will find a use for this basically. But I wouldn't go to it first. You want to go to these first. And if you're having particularly a helicopter problem, you can go with this, so you don't need to worry about the radar. This will do its job anyway, radar or not, because this doesn't have one. MTLB, you can carry 12 troops and 2,000 supply. Nice little gun on there with the, well, nice, pretty big gun with the 30 millimeter and the grenade launcher. So not too shabby to bring up 2,000 supply and then just throw it at the enemy front line for 75 points. You get some extra supply for something that needs it. You get some eyes out and potentially some damage. Not too shabby. Catran, this is basically just your reconnaissance. If you need to, you can go exploit a gap in Shorad that you might have used your Malkas to destroy, or just your force to destroy. And just kind of like some flank recon / security kind of situation there. Expensive though, be careful. You got your Tu-22, and if there's a bit of a oh shit plane moment, you can use this as well. In the opener, if there's a lot of planes going on, there's a lot of planes in front of your spawn, wait for them to turn around. Once you get their butt, send this forward, keep hitting C, keep flaring, and get as many kills as you want, or as you can. You got a lot of different munitions here that as you get closer will continue to shoot. Don't go into any head-on fights with this. Instead, focus on your ground game. This one's going to be particularly spicy. Russian tanks are fun. Russian armor is fun. T90M, recon. It is a T90M. So you have 4 very good tanks in this deck, 2 of which can see out to 2,000 meters. None of them have APS. Practice keeping your tanks alive without APS. You'll thank me later. Is it nice to have? Yes. But when you keep them as cheap as possible, you still get all the boom. You're good to go. You can get more. That is a lot of points. That is a pretty significant difference between those 2 tanks. So that is BVM price for significantly better. So just pay attention to that. But you still got the BVM out there still, too. BVM's faster, though, so keep that in mind. Anyway. So we got the T90 recon. The Marine recon with their BT3s. PDSS, grenade launcher, 4-man, 2,000 optics, can swim if they need to. 100 kilometer per hour road speed with the 2 coordinates, grenade launcher, 30 millimeter. In your face, room clearing, or breaching rather, Sturmoviki in the BMOT, which is a T-72, I believe, chassis. It's a tank chassis, so heavy armor, 2 smokes. You are going to get these to wherever they are going. A couple of BMP-3Fs. These are not BMP-3Ms, but a couple, because they still have all of the boom of a BMP-3. M, just less armor. And you're not going to be worrying too much about armor with this deck. So have this as some pretty useful fire support that can be amphibious if you need to, as just maybe like a little bit of a distraction for 180 points. Some more BT-3Fs, bunch of Marines, Verba, T-15s with the 57s. As I already explained, we got the T-90s, we got the BVMs, we got the Terminator, Chrysanthema, sure. The thing here is, unless you are really throwing these at people, just get 2 more of these. Although you're not going to be able to do this. So you can get rid of a couple of these more Sky if you need to. You've got enough transport with what you got going on here. So there is a way that you could figure out. I think it's probably going to look something like that. And you're good to go. Hell, you can even bring a 3rd if you want. But generally speaking, I think you should go something like... probably... that instead. And then you can do that as a little bit of extra supply. You can even do that, I think. Yeah. Just a little bit extra going on there. So either or, whatever you guys want to do, because these are still the same points. But unless you are actually really utilizing that speed, it's not worth it. This is the armor pen you're going to get with the 2 up to the 720. This is you're going to be fighting a lot of the Sep V2s, Sep V3s. It's going to be nice to have that extra pen in the kinetic, form of just a tank cannon that's just unloading it basically. So yeah, so you can do that if you want. However, armor's not going to be that big of a deal anyway. If you are able to get them in the open, if you're able to get them to pop their smoke, run out of APS in general. But also this system actually doesn't care about APS because it's going to get through anyway. But as I explained in the previous video, I'm talking in circles again. BMPT Terminator with the 2 smoke, and it's a tank chassis, so it's going to have armor. Teamed up with the Chrysanthema, insanely powerful ATGM that is going to fire 2 at the target. The second will get through, which coincidentally the Terminator does as well. This ripple fires its attackers. It's going to get through. These are going to devastate armor as a hunter-killer team. Send one of these, and if you want to, you could send some cheaper armor ahead, keep them a bit distracted. There's even like a level of this where you can like literally just send one of these forward after having sent them forward with Sturmoviki. They're going to be expecting infantry to be offloaded, which if they're actually a smart move there would be to try to flank with tanks, right? So once they do flank with tanks, surprise, it's just the BMOT. Maybe pop smoke, make them guessing whatever's in the smoke. You have them flanked with the Chrysanthemum and the Terminator. Maybe even some T-90s. So, you see what I'm saying here? You can take ground with the infantry, with the APCs and the IFEs. But you can also support them very well with the vehicles that you have here. Primarily with this deck, you're going to want to use the heavier stuff. Get used to using the heavier stuff. With every heavy stuff that you bring, there's going to be helicopters that come to try to kill you. And there's going to be planes. So, get some practice with that too. But make sure that they are protected. Get these up a little bit closer. Make sure you have these up for reconnaissance. Make sure you're not getting flanked. Make sure they're not getting in close to you with the SHORAD so that they shoot these down and you lose the 195 points rather with that as well. You got your Kolitz. He has extended range. Out to 4,500. Kill their SAMs. Kill their SHORAD. Kill their supply. You'll thank me later. Again, you got the Catrans. You got the Transpo with this if you need to. And you got your Tu-22s as quick counter to artillery and SAMs at some capacity. Everything else, I explained in the other video. Let me know what you guys think. As I said, these will be linked in my Discord. Make sure you have the Broken Arrow roll. Stay tuned for a how-to US. And then afterwards, we've got my Air Masterclass and we've got my Infantry Masterclass video. Then finally after that, we have the tag system. The tag system video will come after that. All that stuff. And then some people asking for like map guide stuff. I think I'm going to do that as well. Got a lot of stuff planned. So let me know what you guys want to see. Let me know if I might have missed anything. Perhaps you guys want to see another deck. Perhaps maybe a airborne armored. A lot of people like to use that for both nations. I don't. And there's a very good reason why. Hopefully some of you guys have watched me enough to know why. But there's a reason why I'm particularly telling you guys to use the units that you're using in the way that you are using. And as I said before, make sure that you are not half-assing too many things at once, and you are whole-assing one thing. Generally speaking, you'll be more effective that way. Put these units in the best-case scenario as often as possible, and you'll find them successful, especially with the Russian ones. Thank you guys very much for watching. Click all the buttons on the screen to support what I do. Otherwise, come by a stream. And hope you have a nice day. See you guys.